This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Haskell Wexler, Oscar-winning cinematographer, dies at 93. Born 1922, died this year, 2015. Los Angeles Times reporters Dennis McLellan and Jack Dolan. Haskell Wexler, a two-time Academy Award cinematographer for Who's Afraid of the Virginia Woolf and Bound for Glory, and writer-director of landmark 1969 film Medium Cool, died Sunday morning. He was 93. I'm recording this on the day he died. It's been public for just about 3 hours. Wexler, a lifelong political activist who made documentaries that reflected his social and political concerns throughout his more than six-decade career, died peacefully in his sleep at Providence Street, John's Health Center in Santa Monica, said his son Jeff Wexler. His real passion was much larger than just making movies, Wexler said of his father. His real passion was for human beings and justice and peace. One of the few cinematographers to have received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1996. Wexler won his first Oscar for his black and white photography on Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, directed Mike Nichols' 1966 debut film starring Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. He won his second Oscar for Bound in Glory, director Hal Ashby's 1976 movie starring David Carradine as legendary singer-songwriter Woody Guthrie. Wexler also won documentaries Oscar nominations for Best Cinematography for the 1975 film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, shared with Bill Butler, Matewan, 1987, and Blaze, 1989. Among Wexler's other feature film credits as cinematographer are America, America, The Loved One, The Best Man, The Thomas Crown Affair, In the Heat of the Night, Coming Home, Colors, and The Babe. He also is visual consultant in George Lucas's 1973 classic American Graffiti, and he received an additional photography credit on Terrence Malick's 1978 film Days of Heaven, for which cinematographer Nestor Almendros won an Oscar. Wexler made his feature film directorial debut with Medium Cool, a low-budget 1996 film that he wrote and for which he served as director of photography and was a producer. Described by Wexler as a wedding between features and cinema verite, the drama about an emotional detached TV news cameraman was partially shot in Chicago during the tumultuous 1968 Democratic National Convention. Considering a seminal film of the 60s independent cinema, Medium Cool was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry in 2003. Wexler also directed and wrote a 1985 featured film, Latino, a war drama shot in Nicaragua that movie critic Michael Wilmington described as an indictment of U.S. involvement in Nicaragua that pulls no philosophical punches, was made under conditions of real danger near actual battle zones. Once named one of the most 10 influential cinematographers in movie history in a survey of International Cinematographers Guild members, Wexler became the first active cameraman to receive the American Society of Cinematographers Lifetime Achievement Award in 1993. His body of work is exceptional. ASC President William A. Fraker said at the time he has already made a lasting impact. Describing his camera work in 1993 interview with American Cinematographer magazine, Wexler said, "Movies are voyeuristic experiences. You have to make the audience feel as though they're peeking through a keyhole. I think of myself as the audience, then I use light, framing, and motion to create a focal point." As a cinematographer, Wexler was known for being difficult. As several filmmakers attested to in Tell Them Who You Are, a highly personalized 2004 documentary on Wexler made by his son, Mark, himself a target of his father's prickly nature. Wexler was fired from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest more than halfway through the shooting because, according to director Milos Forman, he was sharing his frustrations with the actors. Michael Douglas, who is one of the producers of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, said in the documentary, "He reminds me of my own father. Critical and judging." For his part, Wexler said in the documentary, as a director of photography, "I always have to work as if it's my film. I don't think there's a movie that I've been on that I wasn't sure I could direct it better. But certainly, also, as a director of photography, I have to serve the movie in whatever way I can as a filmmaker." A child of wealth, his father made a fortune in electronics and continued to prosper during the Depression. Wexler was born February 6, 1922 in Chicago. Despite his privileged background, he demonstrated a lifelong rebellious streak and political bent at 17 when he helped organize a workers' strike in his father's electronics factory. After a year at UC Berkeley, Wexler dropped out. 1941, joined the Merchant Marine. By the end of World War II, he became a second officer and had survived 10 days in a lifeboat with 20 other merchant seamen after their supply ship was torpedoed in the Indian Ocean. Back home after the war, Wexler's father asked him what he wanted to do. "I thought of something really outlandish," Wexler recalled in a 1993 interview with American Cinematographer. "I told him I wanted to be a filmmaker." Although he had previously only shot home movies with his father's 16mm camera, Wexler received financial backing from his father to open a small movie studio in Des Plaines, Illinois. He produced an industrial film for an Alabama mill company, Half Century with Cotton, but the filmmaking enterprise was not a success. Wexler closed his studio in 1947 and began working as a freelance assistant cameraman on Industrial, Education, and other films. By the late 50s, he had begun amassing featured film credits as a cinematographer. In the mid 1970s, Wexler and a friend, Oscar winning cinematographer Conrad L. Hall, launched a TV commercial company between shooting featured films. Wexler directed and shot commercials for products such as Miller Beer, STP, and most memorably for Great Western Saving and Loan with John Wayne. In 2001, he received Emmy nominations for Outstanding Cinematography for a miniseries or movie for 1961. The Billy Crystal directed HBO film about New York Yankees slugger Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, quest to break Babe Ruth's single season home run record. Most recently, he addressed the movie film industry problem of sleep deprivation among film crews who worked excessively long hours in the 2006 documentary Who Needs Sleep? This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, a restful night's sleep. Ciao.